What are two of my favorite things? Thrifting and a new IOD release, the holiday release. So in today's video, you guys, I am doing a thrifted Christmas. So I am taking items I recently thrifted and the new IOD release, and we are gonna create a thrifted Christmas. For project one, I recently thrifted this really cool frame. It's galvanized. I loved all the detail. I even loved the pig, but as you can see, he was coming off, and I felt like it was a sign. It was a sign that he shouldn't be on here, but I didn't want to wreck him, and I tried my darndest to remove him without as little damage as I possibly could provide him. There was a bit of damage to some of the outer edges, but I have a future project that I will be using him in because he is so stinking cute. After I removed him, I was trying to figure out a way to get the rest of it off. And I have this little razor blade and I started using that and it just peeled right off. I'm like, I wish I would have known that when I was removing him in the first place because I probably would have done a whole lot less damage to the outer edge. So I just went around, I removed the excess, and now we're going to upcycle this frame. This is called Crimson Velvet, and it caught my eye right away when I was looking through the release. And then when I opened it and I saw the images, I absolutely fell in love. I just was trying to envision like every way I was going to use one of these transfers. And the Cardinal, these horns, every page that I turned, I just fell more and more in love with this transfer. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. The moment I saw those horns, I was praying that they would fit on this galvanized frame, and they did. So we're going to use the horns in today's upcycle. For starters, I decided I wanted to add some type of background. I didn't want to just place the horns directly on the galvanized. I wanted it to have a much more warm feel and almost like a mixed media type of look. So I am using Royce's new paper called Holiday Patterns, and this just came out with her holiday release, and I thought it was perfect for this frame. The colors in it went perfectly with it. So what I'm doing is I'm just tracing with my finger. I'm kind of scoring it where I need to cut it, and then I'll cut it and then I'll decoupage that on the background. Now that I have it all cut out, I'm using liquid patina from DIY. This is definitely my go-to decoupage medium. And what I always do is I use a starter strip, and this is by far the easiest way to decoupage. You put the paper in place, you pull it back, and then you just add a very thin, even layer of your decoupage medium. And that's the key. You want a nice even layer. Once you apply the decoupage medium, then what you're going to do is take your misting bottle and mist your paper to activate all the fibers in the decoupage paper. And then you'll lay it down and you'll smooth it out with that paintbrush. And then you'll just work your way down. The other key here is you want your paper to be completely dry before you apply any type of transfer. Otherwise, you will run into a not good situation. Ask me how I know, because I have done it where I was impatient and I tried to apply a transfer before my background was dry. Now the paper is dry, it's time to apply the transfer. And if you haven't used an IOD transfer yet, all you do is peel off that back, lay your transfer down, and then use the transfer stick that comes with it to apply it. It is so simple and easy, and honestly, you guys, it completely transforms your project. Next, I decided to add this red ribbon. I thought it was going to be the pop of color that this project needed, and I love that you can layer your transfers and even stamp on them. So for this part of the project, I didn't want to cover up too much, but I wanted it to look like it was like a banner coming off the bottom. So I do the exact same thing and I just apply that transfer to the bottom portion of this. I decided I wanted to add a word to the banner. And at first, I was actually going to break out the new foil transfer and use one of the words from that. Unfortunately, the banner kind of is like a wave, and none of the words fit the banner. So, what I decided to do is use one of my favorite stamp sets, you guys. It's called Apothecary Labels. It comes with 4 different fonts, and the fonts are perfect for small projects like this. And it comes with a bunch of labels, so you get 4 different pages within that stamp set. I am taking one of the fonts and I am just going to write out Christmas, and it fits perfect. I've been slightly obsessed with velvet ribbon since last year, and this ribbon is so cool. I found it at Hobby Lobby, and the edges are a bit frayed, so it's just so whimsical looking. And what I decided to do was actually feed the ribbon through the back of the frame to the front and tie a knot. And I just thought it added a little bit more dimension to this and just added interest. And I did that on both sides, and I just kind of gauged it with my eyes how long I wanted the ribbon to be. After I did it, I'm like, the green looks good because it's like holiday-ish, and there's green in, the botanicals around the horns. But I think I'm going to go back and see if I can find a red velvet like this. I think the red might be just the pop of color that this needs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. For project 2, we are going to use this galvanized vase that I recently found. I thought it was going to be perfect. Next, we're going to use the new transfer called Yuletide. And you guys, when you see all the beautiful images in this one, you are going to fall in love. It is jam-packed full of different birds. And I have been wanting a line of birds like that. I was so excited. And all you folks that want fairies, lots of botanicals, more birds, oh my, is all I have to say. I decided I'm using the Cardinals on here. I think it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. I am going to do more of like another mixed media project on here. So let's get started. I'm using Marquee from DIY Paint, and this is by far one of my go-to reds. If you haven't used DIY Paint before, it is amazing because it sticks to virtually any surface. So what I'm going to do is apply one even coat to the very bottom and then one even coat just right around the top. I want to add just a pop of red. I'm going to let it dry very thoroughly and then I'm going to seal it. When you do use DIY paint, it is a clay-based paint and it does need to be sealed. Otherwise, it can be reactivated with water. Now that the vase is dry, let's work on the fun part. Anytime I'm out thrifting, you guys, I'm always grabbing music paper. The older, the better. The more, like, it has more of like a patina to the paper. I love it. This isn't extremely old, but I like the color. I think it goes really well with the Cardinals. What I also like to do is tear my edges just to give it a little bit more of a natural feel versus like a crisp, clean line. I always tear towards me. It just gives me better control, and I tear all four sides. Now that I have the paper just perfect, I'm using liquid patina, which is definitely my go-to decoupage medium. And just like I do when I use decoupage paper, I'm going to do the exact same thing with this music paper. It's a little bit thicker, so I do need to add a little bit more medium. But, and the other thing is I'm starting on, instead of the very top, I'm going to start on one side and I'm just going to add a nice even coat. I'm going to smooth it out and then work my way over. And I take extra liquid patina and I apply it over the top. And then once I'm all done and I have it applied, I just take my paintbrush and I really make sure that I smooth it out and work out any of the air bubbles that might have happened. And then the last thing I do to really get it nice and smooth is I do zap it with my heat gun, and then that completely smooths out the paper and it dries rock hard on the surface. The last thing, we're going to apply the transfer. And the pro tip here, guys, is you definitely want to make sure your paper is completely dry before you apply the transfer. I just lay it down and I start using my transfer stick, and on one side I just start rubbing and working my way around. And oh, you guys, this transfer is so beautiful and it looks so good with the color marquee and then on this music paper. And this definitely completed the entire project. For project 3, You guys, I am slightly obsessed with enamelware. Anytime I see it, I always thrift it. This caught my eye because the handle was so cool. It had a bit of like rusty, crusty around it. I just loved it. Now, my vision is I wanted to apply a bit of transfer to the top. I love these because they are great shelf sitters, especially in your kitchen decor. And I thought, well, for the holidays, wouldn't it be kind of fun to have just a little bit of holiday pizzazz to the top? So in the end, I decided to cut out this wreath and we're going to apply the wreath to the top. All I did was cut out the center of the wreath. I positioned it where I thought it would look good, and you guys, I'm just going to go for it. For project 4, while I was out thrifting, I found these 3 containers, you guys, and they were only $7.99. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with them at first. And then I decided to start creating some of my own holiday decor. And this transfer called Yuletide was going to be perfect. It is jam-packed full of so many beautiful images. And I thought I'm going to use a bunch of the little critters that are inside. So I pulled out 3 images and we're going to apply the 3 images to the front of each of these containers. I love that just by adding a transfer to a simple white container like this completely transforms it into a piece of holiday decor. And to top it off, it is a unique piece that nobody else can find. So this is going to be perfect for you to transform your own holiday decor, or if you are an upcycler or reseller, this is the simplest way to just transform a few pieces for your booth. For project 5, I thrifted these 2 glass containers. Initially, I was not going to use them for my holiday decor, but then I saw tinsel. This is another new foil transfer, and I have heard a lot of rumbling that you are afraid to use the foil transfers. You guys, don't be afraid. They are super easy, and I am going to show you how easy it was to apply a couple of these transfers to these glass containers. I told you how much I love musical paper. They have 2 full pages of musical paper in here, and we are going to use that on the front of these glass containers. At first, I was going to use the whole entire sheet, but then I thought it was too big, so I cut the sheet in half, and then I added a bit of the greenery to the very top just to add a little something to it. Now, when I first started using the foil transfer, I used it the same exact way I did a regular transfer. I started on one side and I was going to work my way over. And I think the key or the biggest difference between a regular transfer and this transfer is that I think it's a little bit more difficult to see when the transfer is applied. And at first, like I said, I did it like this, but then when I applied the second transfer, I discovered a better way to do it. What I decided to do was turn it sideways, and that way you could see very easily what was applied and what wasn't. So I started rubbing, and again, I just would lift up the transfer a bit, and there were some areas that did not apply. So I laid it right back down, rubbed it, and there you had it. And I think it's because it's all gold, it's harder for you guys to see where the actual transfer pieces are. And just like with a normal transfer, there's times where I start picking the transfer up and it is not totally applied. So what do? We lay it right back down, rub a little bit, and then we can, it just applies. And I've heard too that people are rubbing too hard. I think that they think the harder they rub, the easier it will be to apply. And that's not the case. Just a nice even rub. And just like if you lift it up and it's not applied, lay it right back down. By doing it this way, I could actually see through the transfer and see exactly what was applied and what wasn't. When I was doing it the other way, I couldn't. And once I started doing it like this, the transfers went on as smooth as butter. What was your favorite item in today's video? Honestly, you guys, I couldn't pick a favorite. I love them all, and I could have kept going back into my thrifted stash and pull out more items and transform them. That is how much fun I was having with these transfers. They are amazing, you guys. And I love working with, mixed media and continuing to layer, whether you're using decoupage paper or the stamps and layer different items. I was having a blast. So I want to let you know that this video is part of a playlist for the IOD release. So I will have that linked below, and there's a lot of other amazing creators on that playlist that have taken items and, from this release and have created some really amazing, upcycles, DIYs. I cannot wait to watch all the videos myself. So definitely check that out in the description below. I will have future videos for the other products. You guys, I got like really obsessed with these transfers, and I just kept playing around with them. And then I had to stop and just put together this video because, as many of you know, I have been kind of under the weather. So I do have another video coming out, and there I'm going to be working with some of the stamps and molds because they're absolutely amazing too. But you guys, I am so pumped for the holiday season that is going to be here before we know it. And I cannot wait to see what you guys all create with this amazing release. Well, we'll see you guys in the next one, and thanks so much for joining me today.